My name is Joseph O'Connell, and I'm the founder and artistic director of Creative Machines. We are proud to sponsor the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar entitled The Intersection of Design and Wellbeing, Designing for Positive Emotional Impact, as recently presented at the ILHA Inspire conference by Ann Wilkinson, principal at BAMO. Good art is a team effort. Over the last 27 years, I've developed a staff of 25 designers, engineers, architects, fabricators, and project managers, all united by a shared vision of creativity, enthusiasm, and respect for our clients. We own an amazing 8-acre design and fabrication facility, and we create art that has enhanced high-end hospitality destinations all over the world. Just like a destination hotel, much of our work takes on a different personality day and night. We've developed a series of highly perforated sculptures that project distinct images into the spaces surrounding them. People enjoy how these sculptures project images onto their bodies as they walk by. The lighting is often interactive, allowing people to set the color of the sculpture to whatever is their favorite color, the color of their wedding party or the color of their team, something that makes posing for photos more compelling. Because these sculptures project outward, they activate a larger space than the sculptures themselves physically occupy. Creative Machines is both a pioneer and established leader in durable interactive art. For Chinook Arc in Calgary, we pioneered an innovative technology that allows people to control the lighting of a monumental acrylic cloud. The sculpture was inspired by the way that certain clouds unique to the region would signal a dramatic change in the weather. We've done a lot of work in kinetic sculptures as well. These are sculptures that move in response to motors, wind, and human power. Recently, we've begun a series of kinetic sculptures entirely powered by people. Our sculpture, Chasing the Stars, is the largest human-powered sculpture in the world. Many of our sculptures have intense local followings. In San Diego, we installed Growing Home, an 18-foot-tall stainless steel seashell sculpture perforated with laser-cut text that tells the history of San Diego. The text is arranged in bands that spiral down the shell in the same way a real shell grows band by band from one season to the next. At night, the sculpture projects the history of the city onto its surroundings and its fans. Visitors enjoy posing inside the shell, something locals call taking a shelfie. We have two exciting new directions inspired by contemporary trends in luxury hotels. One of those trends is the return to urban spaces after the pandemic. We're seeing a resurgence of interest in urban entertainment districts that include luxury hotels, new food and beverage concepts, and generous spaces for people to mingle outdoors. In the last 12 months, we've designed scores of art pieces for new urban entertainment districts built around luxury hotels in Scottsdale, Las Vegas, and Denver. One ingredient we're putting into some of these is intense, moving color day and night. We've developed a series of new dichroic sculptures, some static and some kinetic. These respond to the movement of the sun across the sky during the day with large colored shadows that bathe people in color. At night, ordinary white light from above produces the same effect. We've even figured out how to make these responsive to people's movements and reward their desire for interactivity. The other direction we're exploring for luxury hotels is off-the-grid experiences for properties that are an hour or more from urban centers. As humanity continues to move into cities, we anticipate a longing for people to want to return periodically to luxury experiences that reconnect them to nature. We've begun working on art pieces for brands with large properties outside of cities and designing structures that support daytime visits, wedding parties, small concerts, and even overnight stays. All of these one-of-a-kind sculptures work to reconnect people to humanity's place in nature, to the larger cosmos, to the roots of music, to natural forces, and to do so in a way that is as interactive and engaged or as passive as people want it to be. We respect that difference. Our first piece, a giant color-changing sundial that people walk through, is under construction now. By working with brands around the world for over 25 years, Creative Machines has grown to be one of the largest full-service design and fabrication studios run by a single artist, and we have many things to offer the luxury hospitality industry. Please visit our website, connect with us on social media, and get in touch any way you choose.
I'm Ann Wilkinson with BAMO. It's great. Thank you all for staying and for coming. I have been designing for 25 plus years, And I love keeping up with design trends and looking at art and fashion and culture for inspiration. But it wasn't until, sorry, my slide looks different. It wasn't until 2020 that I started wondering why design trends happen. You know, what are the bigger influences that move things forward? In 2020, I was invited to be a judge for a hotel design competition, and in discussing the other the projects with the other judges, it made me kind of question, why do certain projects resonate more than others? Why did the nostalgic retro restaurant work? Was it comfortable? Was it familiar? Why did the beautifully detailed but kind of dystopian spa feel fitting for that moment? There's a reason, and it is because design really reflects our time. Oops, as you can see from this timeline. Things happen, developments happen in technology, in culture, in politics even, and all of those influence these macro design trends. And just like business, when you have this big disruption, changes in design happen more rapidly. So you see kind of a big jump between this ornate style of the 1920s, the Jazz Age, and then boom, going into the Depression of the 30s, we hit modernism and this very kind of stripped down, bare, slightly depressing aesthetic. So fast forward to today, we are coming out of a global pandemic. We've been through a lot. Health and well-being have emerged as the biggest trends, not surprisingly. But sustainability, diversity, and social impact, also important and actually linked to well-being. Ecopsychology is the study of how nature actually has a positive influence on us. It benefits our cognitive ability, our health, our well-being, our vitality, our longevity. And they've actually taken that study a bit further, and they suggest that we are experiencing a negative effect because our climate is slowly, or our environment is slowly deteriorating, and it's creating this kind of low-level stress. We all know it's happening. It's kind of subconscious, but it's affecting us negatively in our health and our well-being. So sustainability isn't just a trend anymore. It's really, it's becoming an expectation, and will soon, I think, become a requirement. One idea that's aligned with sustainability is something called emotionally durable design. So it's the idea that you create something that's durable, not because it's made to last 50 years, it's not bulletproof, as they say in the industry, but it's something that is quality, that is beautifully made, that people love. And therefore they use it, they keep it for decades, for centuries, etc. Costa Rica, interestingly, we're doing a project with a friend of mine, and we found out that the country actually doesn't allow you to just discard furniture. You are required to recycle, repurpose, or store it at the owner's expense. So imagine, if you will, that we had to keep that furniture. I think design would look a little bit different. Diversity, I want to make one mention. I don't think we've really seen how diversity has impacted design yet. It's a bit too early, though initiatives are being put forth. But I think we will start to see a shift away from this Eurocentric domination of design aesthetics. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see where that takes us. Looking into the future, Gen Z, kind of a fun group of people. I have 2 Gen Zs at home, full disclosure. They're the first digital natives They are very diverse. They're expressive of their individuality. They are outspoken. They're inclusive. They care the most of any generation about sustainability and the environment, understandably. They are very keyed into influencers, and they're more apt to seek out companies that do good in the world. The fifth industrial revolution, I don't know much about it, but I know that apparently we're in it. And I put that handy chart up there because I had no idea what the other four were. But it's supposed to be a coming renaissance of creativity and human-centric endeavors for the first time, and a collaboration between humans and AI, which may help some of our labor shortages, hopefully. So how can design influence well-being? How can design affect well-being? Design actually can play an important role in creating positive emotional response. There's in the same way that negative emotions are known to have a negative influence on your health and well-being, researchers have found that positive emotions have the opposite effect. So positive emotions actually not just make you feel better, they make you healthier as well. One of the researchers that's studying this is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. She is a researcher with UNC in Chapel Hill, and she's written a book called Positivity. And she talks about how positive feelings kind of build on each other. So you have a positive interaction, that makes you feel good and puts you out there a bit more. You have another, and it creates this upward spiral, right? So it just kind of gives you the ability to live a richer, fuller life when you have that positive spiral upward. It makes us more optimistic, more resilient, more sociable, more trusting, more giving, and for the hospitality people, more open to new experiences, and even sleep better. So all good things. Borrowing from another researcher, we find that positive emotions break down into 4 main modes. So there's physical or sensory experiences, sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, social experiences, interactions with people, psychological experiences, do we like how things function? Do they work easily? Do we get satisfaction from it? And idealistic experiences, do they reflect our values? I think the hospitality industry is really in a great position to create positive emotion across all of those modes. So these are the 10 positive emotions that Dr. Fredrickson says are the most impactful. And I think as designers, we can use these emotions to create a framework for really meaningful experiences. So let's look at a few. Joy. This is the Good Time Hotel in Miami Beach. I think the name kind of says it all. It's certainly playful and fun and kind of the embodiment of joy. Serenity, that sense of calm, that sense of peacefulness. These are 2 projects that opened pretty recently. On the right is the Amman Hotel in Kyoto. Has that very zen, composed feel to it, and BAMO's Capella Hotel in Bangkok on the left with that beautiful view out to the Chao Phraya River. Interest, giving people rich things to look at, these layers of texture and color and pattern. This project is the Carmelo Resort in Uruguay, and the images you're looking at are from 1999. Much of that is still in the property today. Talk about emotionally durable design. That's been there 20 years. Pride, I think, is something that design does really well. It creates this pride through association. Maybe it's a brand association. Maybe it is just that people think it reflects well on their choices. They look cooler. They feel a little more fabulous there. So I think a sense of pride is something that we can get from design. Amusement, for sure. This is Bemelman's Bar at the Carlisle in New York, and it's really just a delightful space filled with murals by Bemelmans, who's the illustrator and author of the Madeline children's books. And it's so popular. I was there a few weeks ago, and the line to get in was an hour long. On the right, these are some chairs by Pierre Jovanovic. They come in 3 sizes: small, medium, large, baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear. They're kind of fun. Inspiration, we see a lot of hotels using beautiful artwork. On the right is 21C Museum Hotel, their Oklahoma City property, and that's the kind of main idea of their property. So it's sort of hotel as art museum. So you have this wonderful feeling of inspiration and reflection. Another inspirational image is on the left, the Peninsula of Paris, that beautiful sculpture, floating sculpture of leaves that look like they've been whooshed up into the air. It's very impactful. Awe is a wonderful emotion that you often feel when you walk into a cathedral, right? Those houses of worship with the really tall ceiling. And often they'll have a vaulted ceiling. And what that does is it creates this effect that there really is no roof to it. The wall just continues with the ceiling, and it draws your eye up. And so you feel this sort of sense of uplift, which these do as well. The Nomad in London with the glass atrium roof has that same effect. It's very ethereal. And then on the left is the Addition West Hollywood by architect John Pawson. And he does a lot of modern houses of worship that are really quite beautiful. Here he's using a different technique, not coves or vaults, but he actually has the ceiling stopped short, and the wall appears to continue up past the ceiling. I want to circle back to joy, because that is a word that I've been seeing more and more. And early in the pandemic, I came across a website called The Aesthetics of Joy. And that title really caught my eye. Author Ingrid Fettel-Lee has some great insight into what brings us joy. And she writes about it in her book, Joyful, and she expands on that in her blog. She suggests that there's an evolutionary reason why certain visual cues appeal to us, that from nature and the way that our brains developed, we actually prefer certain shapes or colors or forms. We like rounded shapes. They feel safer. We like interesting patterns that reflect nature. We like bright colors because we associate them with freshness, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. We like that sense of wonder and delight. It expands our mind, provokes thought. So I think that she is onto something, but I will say most of her images are quite childlike. They're fun, but there's a lot of rainbow color schemes and polka dots. But I think if you put a more sophisticated, a luxury spin on these ideas, they still have value. And in fact, when I was in New York, I went to the Salon Art and Design Show, and a lot of the most forward-thinking avant-garde furniture designers are actually using a number of these elements. Excuse me, sorry. So rounded forms, you see trending this kind of puffed up, fun, rounded, puffy, pudgy furniture, I call it. Circles, arcs, organic curves, all trending in design. Spiral stairs, I think, always popular, but definitely a big trend. Natural light has the ability to, they've actually shown, make us smarter, make us sleep better, make us happier, healthier. Blue-toned light tends to keep us alert and awake. Red-toned light or warm light tends to help us wind down, produces melatonin, and helps us sleep, if you want to try that at home. Pattern, our brains are wired to look for certain repetition, for order, for rhythm in things, and I like to think that we're probably looking around and solving puzzles at every pattern we look at, and we don't even realize that our brains are actually working. So you can imagine if you are out in nature, how much more your brain is processing all those patterns and shapes. Color has this incredible power to influence mood. So you can use a mix of colors that provide this sense of harmony and balance. You can use bold colors for visual impact, or you can use no color or very light colors if you want people to look past the room and out to the view, or if you just want to have kind of a visual palette cleanser. You know, maybe we don't want that stimulation. We just want things to be very calm. Openness, again, we love that loft of high ceilings. We like expansive views out to nature. This image on the right is actually a LEED Platinum high-end residence that my office designed in Portola Valley. And the client wanted to sit in the landscape. So the architect designed these beautiful doors that slide open. So they are open front and back, and it's completely open to the environment. We love that sense of weightlessness and things that kind of float or appear to float up, things that kind of waft in the breeze, like that Peninsula Paris as well. Delight is that sense of surprise. You know, think about opening a door or opening a drawer, and you find this beautiful color or a fun pattern. That sense is something that we really love. Anthropomorphism, sorry I made up a word there, is the idea that we find our own proportions, the human proportions, naturally appealing. So when you talk about good proportions in design, a lot of times it's based on that idea. So the Acropolis is kind of giving you a little lesson right there with their people in the columns. We actually are wired to look for faces, and we feel happy when we see something that resembles a face. We find things that resemble animal or human shapes amusing. Abundance is kind of that sense of things that are big scale, or there's lots of repetition, and you can imagine if we took just one, nobody would notice. We like that sense of things being over the top. Texture, interestingly, we crave when we're not feeling that great. So that sense of tactility and touchability is something that gives us comfort and enables us to relax. So these elements become kind of the designer's toolkit, if you will, for creating these moments of joy. And every little moment helps to build into a bigger impact. It's that upward spiral, right? And I think we've all been through a lot, and we could really use a little joy right now. And the hospitality design industry or hospitality industry is really uniquely poised to bring that joy to people. So through thoughtful design, through creating positive experiences, we can actually create this positive emotional impact and bring people back on their journey to a happier, healthier well-being. Thank you.